As of the writing of this video, nearly 2,000 games have been marked as verified for Steam Deck, meaning, in theory, they should play perfectly without any sort of issues whatsoever out of the box. So what's the deal here? Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. Whatever your opinion may be on this game, the fact of the matter is that this game is Steam Deck verified, which means, in theory, it should just launch, right? Well, obviously I put Dark Souls 2 in this video for a reason, because Dark Souls 2 doesn't work. The unfortunate truth is that no matter what I do in Dark Souls 2, it's just a black screen. However, get this, there is audio. That's right, the audio works. The game is just blacked out for God knows what reason. But I guess in theory the game does work, it's just that there's a black screen, you can't see anything in the background. And this is both portable and docked, because this was captured from my capture card. I've tried it portable as well, it doesn't work either. I think I have a simple philosophy: if a game doesn't properly function, it shouldn't be verified. And you may be thinking, why don't you just use Proton GE? Well, first and foremost, you think I haven't tried that already? And secondly, even if it works in Proton GE, it still shouldn't be verified for Steam Deck. I just want to say that Mr. Glorious Eggroll does excellent work, and he does some amazing work. He's done a lot of work for the Linux and Steam Deck communities. Just to be clear, there's no hate on Mr. GE himself, because he does great work. It's just Valve. But the real question is, how did Valve not see this? I mean, literally when you boot up the game, you can't see anything. It's a black screen. You literally cannot miss this. And therein lies the problem. You see, on the actual Steam website itself, it tells you that the game is verified and, some other miscellaneous yet important stuff, such as USB controllers and stuff. Here's the thing though, these results are allegedly from February, pre-Steam Deck launch. February 16th, 2022. You know how many updates we've gotten since then? We've gotten so many updates, not just to SteamOS itself, but also like Proton, updates to the OS itself, as well as its underlying components. I mean, the Steam Deck, even half a year ago, is a much different beast than it was when it first launched. But therein lies the question, what the heck broke Dark Souls 2? Well, ultimately I figured out what the culprit was. It was Proton. Essentially, you're forced to use an old version of Proton to get Dark Souls 2 working. Which, I mean, it's whatever, but it's still bullcrap. Verified means it works out of the box without any sort of tinkering required. This required tinkering to get working. Furthermore, actually playing through the game for a little bit actually highlighted some other issues that, well, quite frankly, deserve to be mentioned here. The first thing to mention is that the pre-rendered opening cutscene doesn't work. I mean, yeah, the game will progress past it, but still, that alone should disqualify it for being marked as verified. Furthermore, you have to go into this house right here to select your class as well as customize your character. And you want to know what the first step is? To name your character. But get this, the keyboard doesn't function. What is this bullcrap? And no, it's not because of my fancy RGB keyboard. It's because it doesn't work. Could you plug up a keyboard and type in your name manually with a physical keyboard? I mean, you could, but that's kind of bullshit, So, moral of the story, I found at least 2 things that disqualify this from being verified, which, seriously makes me question this entire endeavor, this testing methodology that Valve employs. I mean, I think it would be real nice to talk to someone from Valve about how their testing methodology works. I mean, it shouldn't really be a secret. My other question is whether or not developers actually help with this process. It's to my understanding that originally developers didn't help with this process, but I think it's gotten to the point where developers should help with the process. I mean, I see no harm in letting developers test out their games to see if it's Steam Deck verified. I mean, what's the worst they're gonna do? Lie about it? Well, that might actually be a realistic outcome. The point I'm trying to make here is that I found these issues very early in the game. It's not like I got to the final boss and experienced issues exclusively at the final boss, like a certain other game that I played. Now it's time to talk about the other side of the coin. unsupported games working perfectly on Steam Deck? Is this entire system upside down or something? To which I say no, it's just that they haven't told us what's wrong with it, so we have no way of explicitly testing it out. Like, yes, the game seems to work perfectly, and yeah, you may have beaten the entire game, but there's probably something Valve isn't telling us. That's another thing too. I just wish Valve was more transparent with how broken games are broken. Are the cutscenes broken? Is the gameplay broken? Is there massive graphical glitches? Is it like a massive black screen? Like, what is it? You gave us some leniency in telling us that a game is either A, a VR game, or B, an anti-cheat game that either doesn't work or doesn't support it. I mean, that's my number one question as well. What makes an unsupported game unsupported? On that flip side though, I totally think they should have made the little unsupported symbol red. Red for don't touch this crap. This crap is broken, and not gray because there's already a gray symbol. So I think we have to talk about Valve's testing methodology as well. We have to seriously scrutinize what Valve is doing. I am without a doubt 100% certain that those poor interns or whoever they hired to test these games aren't completing the games all the way through. I mean, like what? There's like 50,000 games on Steam. Some games they don't even have to bother trying, like VR exclusive titles. We all know that shit's not gonna run well, and you need a VR headset to begin with. So you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you have indie titles that you could probably blow through in like 5 hours or so. Like, you could probably play through the entire game. But what about massive open world games? What about games that have a lot of content? So much content. You know, games that take like 60 hours to beat, and that's just beelining through the entire storyline without taking into account any side content. You know, like mini games or side quests or, you know, other stuff like that too. I mean, there's no doubt that they're probably not playing through the entire storyline, but I also doubt that they're playing through any of the major side quests as well. What about a game that has severe issues on Windows, much less playing it through Wine? What if those issues are perfectly replicated through Proton? Does that matter? There are just so many questions to ask about the process that honestly, I don't think I'm gonna get any straight answers until someone from Valve comments. Now, I doubt that they'll talk to me. I mean, I'm just a small YouTuber after all. What's a man to do, right? And I hope Steam Deck owners scrutinize this just a tiny bit more. Like, yeah, it's easy to be like, just run Proton GE, bro. Like, duh, that shit works everywhere. But like, no, I don't want to do that. I want verified games to be verified. I want them to work out of the box, as intended. I don't want to give Valve any slack for requiring us to use workarounds to get verified titles working on the Steam Deck. Am I being harsh? Yes, I'm being harsh, but you know what? I'm allowed to be harsh because I spent a good amount of money on this device, and I'm sure you have too. And ultimately, Valve is the one that committed to this verification system. What easy improvements could be made in this system? Let me tell you what's not a solution that Valve can take. Implementing Proton GE directly into Steam itself instead of using regular old Proton. Now, why is that? Well, it's because Proton GE includes several Windows codecs that Valve literally cannot implement. Not without paying Microsoft a handsome fee, that is. Another question is whether or not Valve could just hire more people. I mean, you could, but I don't think it's a lack of manpower as much as it is a flawed system in and of itself. So the first solution I propose is that Valve lock verified titles to specific Proton versions, at least by default. Like Dark Souls 2 here. Doesn't seem to work with any newer versions of Proton, but it works perfectly with Proton 6.3-8. Like when you download Dark Souls 2, why not download 6.3-8 as well and just have it use that by default? And if you want to use a different Proton compatibility tool, keep that option there for those of us who want to use it. My second solution is to just be more clear about why a game is broken. I mean, they have testers, and the testers literally found something that caused this game to break. Why not tell everyone else why this game broke? I'm sure with this information readily available to the community can find ways to fix this issue. In fact, they already do this for all sorts of games. It's just that they don't know what the issue is at first. So Valve telling us what the issue is would alleviate a lot of these issues. And the last semi-realistic solution I came up with is to let developers help with the testing process as well. So it's to my understanding that Valve actually tests games first, and then they report to developers, and then the developers react in response. And then they resubmit their game for verification again, and Valve retests again to make sure things are working the way they should. But what about just letting the developers do the whole verification system on their end? Now, I shouldn't be so harsh on Valve. I mean, Valve undertook this massive responsibility on their shoulders just to make things easier for both consumers and developers, and that's commendable. I just think that the system could be so much better, and so much more intuitive, and so much more user-friendly, and furthermore, so much more functional. So I'm not sure if anyone from Valve is going to watch this, but if they do watch it, just know that I appreciate the hard work you guys have put in. And I'm sorry if I sound a little harsh, or perhaps not knowledgeable about things, but I just feel like something is up with the system. And I hope you guys can get things resolved.